Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to review the PRISM W280 Max from the perspective of a visual content creator, someone who does graphic design, digital art, edits photos and videos on a daily basis. So this is a 27-inch 4K IPS display that supports HDR10 and up to 115% sRGB. By the way, this review is going to be quite long because it's going to be very detailed. If you want to save time, you can actually check out the text review that I have already written on my blog. I'll put the link in the video description below. Alright, before I start this review, let me give a shout out to PRISM Plus. Big thanks to them for providing this review unit. I've been using this monitor intensively for the last 2 weeks on both Windows and Mac OS, and this video that you're watching was also edited on this monitor. PRISM Plus is a company based in Singapore. They sell mostly gaming monitors, and when they contacted me to ask if I wanted to review any of their monitors, I had to look through the long list of gaming monitors to pick out. So I picked the W280 Max and the C315 Max, which is also a 4K display. I will make a separate review for this monitor and another review to compare this 32-inch monitor with the 28-inch. The price of this monitor at the time of this review is around 460 Singapore dollars. The price will vary depending on promotions that the company may or may not be running. For a 4K IPS panel, that is extremely competitive pricing. So the design looks very clean and simple. Thin bezels at the top and on the sides, just 8mm. At the bottom here, this is about 2 centimeters and it protrudes towards the front slightly, and that's the logo in the center. Now this monitor uses a stand that has 3 legs, and you can see here there is some space. I put my Bluetooth speaker here. If you're not using a Bluetooth speaker, you can actually push a keyboard here, provided that your keyboard doesn't have the number pad. The monitor is quite thin on the sides, and then it curves to become thicker towards the center there. The cable management is good. There's this hole here for you to run the cables through and under to reach the ports beneath. The ports are for power. This is USB type A, 2 full-size HDMI, 1 full-size display port, and this 3.5mm audio jack. And if you want to VESA mount this monitor, you can certainly do so. The VESA dimensions, it's 10 by 10 centimeters. And you can detach this stand very easily just by releasing this latch here. Now the stand has 3 legs. They are quite thin, but overall the monitor and the stand, it's very stable. The good thing about this stand is it doesn't take up a lot of space on the table. The downside is there is no adjustment for the height and the rotation. The only physical adjustment for this monitor is the tilt. This monitor is lower compared to what I prefer. The alternative is to get a monitor arm to clamp to the table, provided your table can be clamped. And with a monitor arm, you will be able to adjust the height, the tilt, and the rotation. And PRISM Plus happens to sell a lot of monitor arms. Now for the colors, they look great out of the box. I have already color calibrated this display using my Spider 5 Pro, and I measured 100% sRGB color support and 82% Adobe RGB. PRISM Plus claims this can support up to 115% sRGB, but my color calibrator wasn't able to measure beyond that. This monitor is very bright. PRISM Plus says this can go up to 300 nits. I measured 360 nits, and right now for this video I'm actually running it at 50% brightness, which is around 160 nits. For my work, I actually run this at 30% brightness because it's just so bright. This monitor also has fantastic viewing angles. Oops, I'm not able to rotate the monitor. So that sound that you hear actually comes from the rubber feet beneath the metal stand. So this display has a matte surface texture on it with anti-glare, and the anti-glare, it's very typical anti-glare. Works well. If I have it like this, and I look at the monitor from the front, I have strong light source from the side here. I don't see the white haze caused by the anti-glare, so the anti-glare actually works quite well. Viewing angles are fantastic. The colors, they don't shift even when you view the monitor from the side like this. And since this is a 4K display, the resolution is considered very high. When seated about 1 arm's length away, I am not able to notice any pixelation. All the visuals, all the graphics on the display, they are very sharp, very detailed. Let's take a look at the OSD menu and see what color settings you can adjust. These are the 4 buttons on the back of the monitor for you to access the OSD, and that's the power button. Now navigation is actually quite intuitive, very easy once you get the hang of it. Input source is detected automatically. You can switch the input source here, or you can use the quick shortcut button, basically the top button, and click and switch between the different input. I use this several times a day, so it's very convenient. Here you can change the brightness, contrast, the dynamic contrast ratio, which I have at off, 0. Color settings you can change are gamma. This is the picture mode. For the color temperature, you are not going to be able to select the different temperature settings like 6500 K. You won't be able to select the Kelvin settings, so it's just normal, warm, and cool. Here you can adjust the hue, saturation, blue light settings, which is now at 0. So this monitor, it doesn't flicker, and if you want blue light, if you want the low blue light setting, it's there. Personally, I always keep it at 0. And these are the picture quality settings. You have sharpness, response time, noise reduction, super resolution, blah blah blah. Aspect ratio for this monitor is 16:9. There is a built-in speaker behind the monitor, and you can pass audio through to the monitor using the HDMI cable. In case you don't know, 4K resolution is 3840 by 2160 pixels, and right now it's showing me that I'm running with the HDMI cable, and the refresh rate is only 30 Hz. The maximum refresh rate of this monitor is 60 Hz, but this Mac Pro that I have, that's from 2013, it's a very old computer, and it's not able to output 4K at 60 Hz using the HDMI cable. But if I use the display port, I'm able to output 4K at 60 Hz. Any computer that's 1 to 4 years old should be able to output 4K at 60 Hz to this monitor without any problems. For the type of work that I do, which involves a lot of photo and video editing, it is a joy to do all that work on this 4K display. The main issue I have with my workflow comes down to the software that I use, more specifically the softwares that have not been updated to take advantage of the 4K resolution. So for certain software, you can see the user interface elements like the menus, the fonts, the icons, they are a bit too small to read comfortably. The issue with scaling user interface elements happens on macOS as well as on Windows, but for macOS, I find that I have more issues. For macOS users, if you want to use 4K resolution, I highly recommend you get a 32-inch display instead. Alright, let's talk about the joys of using 4K. So 4K has a lot of resolution. You will be able to see a lot more. In this case, you will have a lot of space for you to put your palettes. And here you see all these thumbnails here. If I am running at a lower resolution, I will not be able to see all the thumbnails. I will have to scroll up and down because the thumbnails will be bigger. Here I can see the thumbnails. I can just drag those thumbnails directly to the timeline. I don't have to scroll. It improves productivity. And because this is a 4K video that I am editing, I can actually watch the 4K video in actual 4K. So it's really enjoyable to be watching 4K videos in actual 4K. That applies to watching movies as well, and in this case, watching movies on this display, it's very enjoyable. When it comes to editing photos, it is very satisfying because of all the extra resolution. So this is a 16 megapixel file. A 4K display, by the way, has slightly over 8 million pixels. So when it comes to editing a photo like this, which has 16 megapixel, you can zoom in at 100%, which is what I'm looking at right now. And I am not able to see any pixelation because the pixels are so small and there are a lot of pixels crammed onto the display. I can see a lot of details and I can see that this photo it's out of focus. I have to retake this photo again. So that's the thing with 4K. It allows you to see a lot more details, a lot more clarity, and you can tell whether or not your photos are looking great, whether your photos are focused or slightly out of focus. For graphic design work, it's fantastic as well. So this is a vector software for page design. This is Adobe Illustrator, by the way. And I'm able to zoom in like all the way and the fonts will still be very sharp. Now for 27-inch monitors, at least nowadays, they usually come with 1440p resolution, which is actually the resolution that I have with my other monitor, my main monitor. So with 1440p resolution, I can still see pixelation for the fonts, but here with 4K display, I can see these fonts, the text, they are very sharp. And also this is a really good size. Compared to A4 paper, you can see I can fit about 2 or more A4 paper. So this can definitely fit A3 size. So if you are designing a page that is A3 size, you will be able to see your page at actual size, like 1:1, with fantastic sharpness. And also because the color accuracy is quite good, you will be able to see how your page will look in print, provided you calibrated your monitor properly. Another thing with 4K that I mentioned earlier is because there is so much resolution now, you can afford to have a lot of palettes by the side. So when I am using a lower resolution monitor, sometimes I would just like hide the palettes to give me more space to see my work. But right now, I can actually just like have more palettes on the display. I can just put palettes here and there, and I can still see a lot of my work because of the extra resolution. So the palettes, they don't cover my work that much. This is very good for productivity. And now let's switch over to Windows. Let's talk about running 4K on Windows. So I have this monitor connected to Windows with the DisplayPort. It's very easy to switch between systems. Just use the shortcut button behind. If you are running really old software on Windows or even on Mac OS, chances are the user interface elements, they will not scale up properly. In this case here, the fonts, the text, the icons, they are very small. So if I need to change any of these settings, I have to look like really close to make sure that I'm clicking on the right things. It's not good for my eyes, and I cannot update this software because it would mean buying new software, which costs several thousands of dollars. So if you're using old software, this is something you should take note of. Windows, to me, handles scaling much better compared to Mac OS. So right now it's at 100% scaling. Everything looks kind of small. So I can go into the system settings and scale everything up to 150%. So now it's much easier for me to read this. These are still kind of small, so let me just resize them. Yep, so now they have been updated to a much larger size. This is an IPS panel, so it will have IPS glow. You're not going to be able to get the same contrast compared to AMOLED display, so you're not going to be able to see like the really dark darks. So even when the screen is completely black, you will see some sort of glow. So for this particular unit that I have, there is some glow at the top left and top right, and some wavering glow at the bottom. Now this sort of performance that you see is not surprising. I have reviewed many monitors, some of them are significantly more expensive. Those monitors that are more expensive, they don't have perfect even backlight as well. Alright, to conclude, let me just run through the pros and cons, the things I like and dislike. I like the design, it's very clean and simple design. The build quality is reasonable, it's quite good. I like the fact that the stand, it doesn't take up a lot of space on my small table. The colors look fantastic out of the box, the colors are very vibrant, and after color calibrating, the colors look even better, like more accurate. So in terms of visual quality, this monitor is definitely suitable for visual content creator. The 4K resolution is really satisfying to work with. I mean, this really is a monitor that is very suitable for productivity work. Now for the things I don't like, there's only one thing. The stand cannot be adjusted for height. I mean, for rotation, I can actually just move the monitor left or right, but I cannot adjust the height. So if I have to use this for work, I will definitely have to buy a monitor arm because I don't want to set my computer chair too low to match the height of the monitor. And also there are some issues when it comes to running apps with 4K, but that's not the problem with this monitor. It's just that some apps, they have not been updated to run 4K, or they have been updated but their user interface element, they just don't work well with 4K. In terms of value for money, this monitor, in my opinion, does deliver a lot of value for money, especially for the type of specifications that you are looking at and for the performance that you just saw. So it has good colors, good brightness. That's really all that matters to me for the type of work that I do anyway. So the pricing, it's really good. So this is a monitor that you can definitely consider getting if you need a productivity monitor. Do check out the many reviews that PRISM Plus customers have left on their website as well as on their Lazada page. So that's it for my review. I hope this is helpful. See you guys in the next video. Bye.